So this is just like a general, very, very general screener. Now you can build a very similar screener in the flow feed. It's a very similar thing. Let's just start from the scratch, and I'll just like we'll just build something that you can use if you want, and it'll end up looking like one of these. So like you might as well just start with one of these and play around. This is just a good like kind of thinking exercise for someone who isn't as firm on the concepts as they like to be. So let's start from scratch and just put something together here. So if we're trying to find ask side activity, which we will presume is buy activity, I can just easily hide bid side activity. I can hide no side activity, and we'll just start from there. So keep in mind that you can have multiple tabs open, right? So I could have like this ask this might be like my ask side tab, and then I might do like a bid side tab on this side, right? So just keep that in mind. So for this one, we'll just look at ask side activity. I'm going to just look at stocks and ADRs. So no ETFs, no indices, just to keep it simple. Similarly to the screener, we'll just start with volume is greater than open interest. Again, that's just like a very basic screener, right? Just because its volume is greater than open interest doesn't necessarily make it interesting, right? So here we have 375 volume, 100 open interest. So like probably not super useful. So I guess yeah, we'll just find stuff that would maybe eliminate it from being useful. So not only is it such small volume, that this specific trade is only one size, right? So like obviously we don't need to mess with stuff that's like one size. Let's look for stuff rather than size. Let's start with contracts in which at least 1,000 volume has taken place, right? So we want stuff that a minimum there's at least 1,000 contracts trading hands. So that one is now gone. So now this top one, what can we rule out about this one? So again, the size is 1, so let's make it, I don't know, just toss a number out there. We'll say like 50. So now the reason why I'm going with 50 here is because you might think 50 is like kind of a small number, and it very well might be. Let me actually see what the preset does. So I'm going to go on a little tangent here. It's not a bad tangent. It's just like an observation, I guess, right? So like if you hop on the flow and you think, oh, if you think to yourself, all right, I want to find big whales. So like I'll just type in like a million, right? I'm gonna type in a million minimum premium. Maybe that's not a great example. I'll type in like 500K, right? So now each line of data is an execution at an exchange, but multiple lines of data can be from the same trade. So like for example, if I have like a 500K filter, but the trade executes across 2 exchanges, and each fill is 409 is 499,999, and it's $1 under, I wouldn't see either trade, but it's almost like a $1 million trade, right? So like I think a smaller premium is fine to use. Similar, that's just the same reason why I'm going to use a small size. I wanted to see what the default was using here. Okay, so the default filter, it doesn't even use size, right? It uses 5. These are just some, again, just numbers that are just guidelines. All right, so we use 10,000. Okay, so let's just go back here. I'm gonna eliminate the size because I wasn't using it in the default. Let's just go to 10,000 premium for the same reason. We're gonna filter with our eyes as well as like just the filter in general. So we have 10,000 premium here. We want the chain itself. So if we think back to the screen, or we wanted options contracts in which 70% of the activity was either at the ask or the bid. So let's just do that right now. I'll just type in 70% ask. So it's this column right here that I've just toggled. So this column shows you the bid and ask breakdown of the contract in its totality, right? So if I look at, I'm going to click on this contract right here. So whatever this is, I had no idea what it is. Okay, so if we look at the feed, we can see every individual fill. So starting from the very first fill of the day, this 3 size trade resulted in the volume for the day being 3. This was all at the ask, or this was at the ask. So all activity of the day is so far at the ask. So now we have 55 contracts, again, at the ask. So now there's 58 total, all at the ask, right? So this shows you, so now here we have a bid side fill of 11 contracts. So it went from 100% of the contracts being at the ask to only 95, right? And you can see it progressively changing throughout the day. So this is just like an intraday look at how the contract itself is trading. So if I just go to point 7, I'm seeing contracts in which 70% or more of the activity is at the ask. So that's a decent filter right there. So this aggregated trades thing, I would suggest turning it on in most use cases because it will take these multiple executions and aggregate it as the name suggests. It will aggregate it into. So if I click on this icon, whatever you want to call it, it will show me the individual executions that add up to this. So this 919 size gray trade, this is not an actual execution. This is an aggregation of multiple executions. So instead of looking at a screen full of like this whole block has now, it's a little bit easier to digest. Like, yes, it's still quite big, but I'm seeing more data. I'm sure this core stuff right here. So if I go to cores, right, so we see this. Let's see, let's just look for today only. So if I see this, I can see this activity has been aggregated. If I turn it off, what does it look like? So if I turn it off, all the trades are too small to even show up, right? So I'm missing a lot. I'm potentially missing a lot of data by A, having too high of a premium, and B, not aggregating the trades, right? So there's like a lot of nuance going on here. But we'll hit on that some other time. But what else can we do here? So similarly to the screener, multi-leg activity is a little bit harder to read. Let's just save ourselves a little bit of time for now. Oops, and hide multi-leg activity. I'm going to hide it by looking for the opposite of multi-leg activity, single leg activity only. What other stuff could we do? Maybe we'll just do out of the money only. Let's go back to my 70% ask side screener, and I'm looking at my 70% ask side flow screener. So I'll, like the results will be very similar because we're looking for contracts of similar criteria. So now the Palantir 60p, it's not going to show up at the end of the day. Like the flow feed, it's in chronological order. It's not going to show up right now because all the activity happened earlier in the day. But if I type in Palantir, it'll probably show up earlier in the day. Yeah, so this, that's not it. What time was that at? That was at a little after 10. So is there something, is the open interest too high? Yes, okay, so this one actually wouldn't pop up because the open interest is 24,000 and we're capping it at 5. But the other screener results like Ford, I guess the open interest is too high here. So let's just, for the sake of comparing real quick, let's just turn on 5,000 open interest here. And now it should be pretty spot on, right? So AAL, if I just type in AAL, presumably we should see the same 5P 2027. Yep, so right here, AAL, Nike 70. If I just type in Nike, do we see the 70s? Probably do, we do. So now, like, the goal isn't to get a screener and a flow feed that looks the same, because then you're just kind of like in an echo chamber. Like everything you see here is going to be everything you see here, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. But like, you know, if the values are slightly different, and if you see more data, that's fine. Like just filter it on your own at the end. That's what your eyes are for, right? You like tinker with the numbers as you see fit. Again, not everything that shows up here will be interesting. Like at the very least, just click on the candles or click on the contract just to see what you see. Now you might think, oh, the candles are similarly sized. However, it's probably not a close because this candle's 22. This one's 2. There's only, yeah, so the open interest is only 2,000 26 here. So likely this, it's probably an open, but I mean, there was some activity that happened before which could have created a new contract. There's a lot to think about, right? There's a
One
lot
thing I
to,
would check there, though, is the flow itself on that green volume bar to see if it's one order. Because if it's a series of orders,
mm,
it could still be a closure with some kind of one-offs that snuck in there
yeah,
to
so
raise
it
that
does
total
look like,
contract limit.
yeah, it does look like, let's flip the aggregated thing on. Yeah, so yeah, it's a series of trades. So who knows? So just again, you got to screen with your eyes and the feed as much as the filters. The filters are just there just to eliminate 99% of the stuff. But like once you get to here, like at least 70% of the stuff after you filtered out the 99% is still probably not going to be that actionable. So like I wish it was easier, but there's a little bit of legwork involved.